So I think I'll start by setting some quick context before we start putting across some interesting questions for our panelists. As the economy is changing fast, the pace of technological change continues to increase. And in today's globalized world, demands on workers continue to grow. The World Economic Forum recently released a report detailing the economic imperative of upskilling. It argues that now is an important time for companies to embark on upskilling revolution, quite formally, that allows employees worldwide to become immersed in the future of work, whatever it may entail. And from a product's perspective, technology has always been an enabler, and one such thing in skilling has been LMS, which is learning management solutions. Learning management solution is a known route for many organizations regarding online corporate training, simplifies employees training and evaluation process, and helps keep track of their progress. Compared to new hires, spending on a proven team has shown that the ROI of corporate training is always a benefit. And it's a known fact. It doesn't just boost your bottom line, it also improves retention, boosts morale, increases customer satisfaction, and attracts new relevant talent. So, with that, I think I would really want to introduce our expert and esteemed panelists here. We have with us Mr. Deepak Malik, Mr. Roy Chaudhary, Mr. Jitendra Das, and Ms. Priyanka Kulkarni. So I'll just have a quick, brief, interesting introduction about each of our speakers. Mr. Deepak Malik, Director HR at Aris Communications, has 15 years of experience and have proven to be a successful key member of leadership teams, resulting a strong impact on people through strength in relationship building, learning and development, performance management, and implementing action plan strategies to meet HR needs. He has worked with well-established MNCs and startups who is adept at building sustainable organization capability to deliver business results. Now, something that we want to share about Ms. Sarmishta Roy Chaudhary. Ms. Sarmishta Roy Chaudhary, CHRO at Power Exchange India Limited, is a keen strategist, comes with 22 years of intensive and rich exposure in all facets of human resource, learning and development, and performance management. She has headed high performance teams which consistently drove for results. She has led HR functions in diverse sectors, which includes manufacturing, telecom, automobile, consulting, chemical, and power and energy. I would like to introduce our third panelist, Mr. Jitendra Das, who is a Senior Director HR at Work in Sync and a postgraduate from Tata Institutes of Social Sciences. He comes with 10 plus years of progressive, diversified, and multi-country exposure in HR. Also has experience in handling various post-acquisition HR change management projects in UAE, Kuwait, and he has excellent understanding in business requirement with respect to human resources, leadership, talent capabilities, and people analytics. Okay, so with that, I think I will start this discussion and I'll put across the first question to Deepak. Deepak, let's start this with a quite basic but very relevant question. So Deepak, what do you think, what is the reason why skilling and upskilling is essential to business survival? Your thoughts on that?
So I would like to take you back 10 years ago when we were not having the WhatsApp and anything in our hand. The communication, the fast communication, in fact, was very, very difficult. In fact, you had to rely on the email on something, then people are sending the email, then you have to read, then you have to respond. So there is the evaluation chain from the technology, from the email to the WhatsApp, wherein you have the instant messaging. So the same way the business also evolved the new categories of the acquisition, plus they also need the new technologies to adopt and deliver. What if we don't have the people who are not knowing the new technologies, new skills, which is required to run the business? We will be way back of the 10 years. We cannot sustain in that. So upskilling or reskilling or developing the new skills are essentials to run the business, to understand what is demand of the market, not today, after 2 years, where do you want to sustain in 2 years or 5 years down the line, and what kind of the demand generation will become for the market to the company. So knowing the fact, if you look at the reports, the Amazon has invested $700 million worldwide on the upskilling the candidates of their new hire and the existing employees. Why they are doing it? Because they have seen there is a change in the technology, and now the technology is going to the second stage, and they need the workforce to adopt that change.
Great insights, Deepak. Now the same question to Mr. Das. Jitendra, what are your thoughts on that? Why is skilling and upskilling essential for business survival?
First of all, thank you. Thanks, Deepak, for the points that you made. If you look at the current economic scenarios, we are in a very difficult state, especially being in HR, and where we are struggling in two ways. One, like if you look at worldwide economic conditions, the unemployment isn't rising. Okay, and at the same time, okay, we are finding it so difficult to get people who are well trained, skilled, and come and make the contribution in the organization. See, I have worked in both sides in larger organizations at the same time. Right now I'm heading a startup based in Bangalore, and in nutshell, I think both these industries had similar kind of challenges. Like one, of the COVID accelerated the entire pace of digitalization. Okay, which means this is not going to stop; it's going to keep on rising. Okay, with that, it creates again another challenges for us, like how many skilled or trained manpowers that we have available in this market. And if I give you quickly like what I'm facing at this point of time, so if you look at the technology or especially software engineers, the demands are so high. Okay, I can tell you it's somewhere around, if my demand is 1, so it's 1 is 2, sorry, demand is 8, I have only 1 person that I can hire from who are trained people, which starts creating issues for the entire the how we are going to run the businesses, because your cost is going to increase. Okay, which means you have to quickly relook at the strategies. How do you make sure the current we our own employees, we are going to reskill or upskill, or also look for opportunities where we can get the talents from the market. And this is going to be across, not only in the IT. I was in CK Birla Group prior to this, even in the manufacturing, because we had to experiment with Industry 4.0, etc., but we didn't have talented manpower to take it forward. And this is just the beginning. So the beginning is unemployment rising. At the same time, we don't have skilled manpower.
Okay, thanks, Jitendra. Interesting insight. Same question to you, sir, Mr. I'll just reiterating again. We are discussing here, why is skilling and upskilling essential to business survival? Your thoughts on that?
Sure. Thank you, Archit, Rajesh, for inviting or having me on this board. And thank you, everybody. I really, it is very insightful to hear Mr. Deepak and Mr. Jitendra about, how skilling and upskilling helps in current business scenario. And as both of my team, the speakers were talking about, let's go back. Even I would say, let's go back, to the steam engine age. So what happened is, after the steam engine was invented, even before that, horses were working. And after the invention of steam engine, even if the horse had worked for free, nobody would have hired them. Just as steam engine were able to replace dozens of horses, computers and robots are nowadays kind of replace the cognitive work of hundreds of humans in the routinized work. Therefore, this I think this line is enough for us to understand where we are and what we have to do. I was just reading one report, although it talks about Europe, about 40% of the population currently lacks the necessity of digital skills. And digitization is disrupting everywhere. And we have already set in, we are in the process of moving high, and the job markets are also very important. Business is moving around the digitization. Therefore, even the research has shown that how global competition and the radical economic changes is important for the resources, and the intellectual capital are so much critical in today's world. Therefore, we have to work in the new rules of the road that will change business models and the mindset. If I talk about the T3 Innovation Network that was recently formed between collaboration of some 150 private organization and public organization, just to do actively work on developing open data infrastructure for equitable talent marketplace. That means this is creating the digital transformation has created the talent marketplace by promoting data interoperability. That just because the business is moving around only where the technical skills land on. Therefore, this T3 innovation is helping and harmonizing the stakeholders, the trainers, the other credential providers, government organization, to ensure that learning counts, or learning counts, and skills have become it is used like a currency nowadays. Therefore, learners and workers and all the new age kids, or maybe even the mid management, we all have to march towards skilling, upskilling, reskilling in order to tap our current employment and have future abilities. Therefore, for business survival, I guess skilling and reskilling is indeed very, very important, and move towards digitization.
Thanks, Sharmishta, for this great insight and your thoughts. So one thing which you all three have made very clear is that definitely not skilling is not an option. So supply of skilled workforce is already scarce, and with that, the problem becomes more relevant and more important. Having said that, I think let's move to a more practice-oriented question. Would love to understand from all three of you that when skilling and upskilling is already very essential about business survival, there's no question about that. What can practically companies do to upskill their employees, their existing workforce? Because we just discussed, all three of you shared great insights on that, how workforce is already scarce, skilled workforce is even more difficult. Then the only option left is the how do we really upskill our existing workforce? So Deepak, with that, I come back to you. Your thoughts on how companies can upskill their existing workforce and employees?
So there are multiple ways to upskill the candidate skills. So until unless you generate the interest among the candidate or employee, you really cannot get success. How you generate the interest? Then again, you have to target your audience who has certain purpose, because again, the culture is all about having the purpose in the company. It's not about having certain elements and then executing those, having the values, but those values has to be inculcated in the culture and the employees. Then only you can get a success. So until unless you don't have the interest to do that, you cannot have the success. And to generate the interest, you have to create a purpose to the employees, that why we are asking you to enroll yourself to do all this certification. This is the purpose of your life, of your career. That's why we want to scale up in the career to the next level. So there could be multiple ways, like you can the multiple companies having the plan, like a development action plan. They create a development action plan considering our future need, our business need, what technology change we are going to adopt down the line of 3 years. Do we have the workforce? Because basically, if you look at how we bridge the gap in demand and supply, that's more important. And that can only be done once we understand what skills force we have in the company, how we can develop that, and what methodology we need to use, and how we can upskill that. There were a debate in 2 months ago that every company should adopt a single point of the learning methodology, but I don't agree to that, because every company has a different kind of culture. What culture my company has might not be having the other company as well. There must be a better culture or the best culture, right? But what fit in that scenario, that's more important. You can have in-house training sessions, you can develop your mentoring session, you hire someone from the outside, then you scale up the team, you build up the new team, get a certification done. Depends. I mean, there are multiple ways, but the only thing is you need to find out which way is correct to entice your team to attract towards that particular point. That's more important.
Absolutely, absolutely, Deepak. And Deepak, with that, a follow-up question to you. if you'll be able to quote certain examples from your experience, because you very rightly said that upskilling cannot be generic, it has to be very relevant to the environment, to the domain where exactly the workforce is working. So some good examples, I'm sure you would have lots to share, where we can demonstrate us that, how this can be done on ground.
Okay, I again, it's a long ago. The cloud was in the boom. 2015-16, there was very less resource in India who had very cloud expertise, but everyone was trying to move to the SaaS model and the cloud model. So that way, we hired one candidate as a real example. We hired one senior candidate, and we developed the entire team in that. Rather than sending them the entire team to outside to learn the things, we hired one candidate who can entirely develop and fix the department. That's the one thing. Second thing, what we can be done, like if I believe that every person has a learning capacity. How you judge the learning capacity, that's the only question we have. We sometimes we do the psychometric test, sometimes we follow the 70-20-10 model, sometimes we say let's create the program based on the performance appraisal, sometimes we say let's create the program on the success appraisals. Depends, again, it depends on the need of the business. But the thing is how you accelerate that program and generate that interest to achieve the purpose, to get the result out of it, that's more important.
True. I think a very fantastic example. Thanks, Deepak, for sharing that. With that, I move to you, Jitendra. Your thoughts on practice-oriented insight that while upskilling and skilling is essential for business survival, what can practically companies do to upskill their existing workforce? Also, it would be great if, like Deepak, you can also share some of the examples from your experience.
Sure. First of all, thank you, Deepak. I think you have touched the chord, where we are actually struggling almost every day. So, in my view, the biggest challenge comes in, okay, even before we look at reskilling or upskilling, is the skill mismatch, okay, and that's I think the key. And what happens is, and if you look at it, it's a huge imbalance between demand and supply. Again, it's or what we talked about earlier. Okay, and there are multiple types of skill mismatch that can happen. Okay, now if you look at the skill mismatch, can be a vertical mismatch where there will be individuals who are overqualified or underqualified. Okay, another we have horizontal mismatch, which is basically mismatched by the field of study that and the job that you are going to do. Okay, and especially if you look at India, it's a large country, correct? So not everyone has that kind of orientation or understanding about what should I do, what kind of course do I do to get to a particular. So we just follow a very approach of either you become an engineer, doctors, etc. At least that's what it used to be in the past. Things are changing of late, but still it's going to take some time because things are changing by an influence of social media. Okay, so it's like it's just this joke, we keep seeing so many Instagram posts, everyone become an expert to tell you what course you should be doing to what makeup that you should be putting up. Okay, and it is by that way they try to advertise that. Yeah, the market has changed, but at the same time still the level of understanding what skill that we should be building up to get a job in a certain domain still not very clear, and that creates again a challenge for organization like ours. Because when we look at Deepak mentioned, when we go out and start finding a talent, obviously we can say we only hire for attitude, but no, that is true to a to an extent, but still your first level of filtering is going to be a skill match. If it is not happening, then we will not look at motivations are there or not. Okay, and at the same time, as we are finding difficult to bring in the kind of talent that we need in the organization. So for example, I'll give you, so we are of late we have seen almost everyone started learning Python. Okay, it's everyone can code and start doing Python and then become a coder. But when we go and start hiring people who are going to deliver, especially at a startup kind of an environment where it's very fast paced because the customer demands are so high, we need to deliver continuously. Here we generally use Java, the platform, as Deepak mentioned, Azure, which is a cloud platform. So we go to the market and we don't find the kind of talented people who needs has that expertise in Java. And those who has like their demands are so high that if they are in X amount today of CTC, tomorrow they are going to ask for, okay, give me 2x or 3x, otherwise I will not come, because they are already shopping for multiple places. So we are especially sort of smaller organization like ours, so we are left out with only one choice. Can I go back to the drawing board and look at educational institute, tie up with them and bring them on board? So, but we have looked at, obviously, I'm sure like many other organizations are doing it, but we have also looked at, not only like, someone who has a, degree on paper, we wanted to test them out. So what we have created is, we created a 1-year kind of an internship. For example, those who are in a 4th year of their engineering, especially the computer science backgrounds. So we bring them on board, and they do a 1-year live projects with us, which actually they're getting delivered to the clients. So we assign them mentors, and the mentors help them, understand first. Sorry, I went on mute. Yeah. So, and then for over a period of 6 months, we identify. Obviously, for them, it's reskilling, because the skill generally they learn in the colleges is, to be honest, even the coding is totally different when they come onto platforms. So that helps us to build that pipeline and keep it handy. But still, we're not there, because what happens is, after the 1-year period, they actually get skilled. And at this, as I said, the demand versus supply is 8:1. So the moment they get the right kind of skill, they move on. But still, our retention there is going to be somewhere around 70-75% at this point of time. Okay, the people who just come fresh out of college, and they stay with us for a year, we provide them another opportunity. So that's one part we look at. Also, we started looking recently, like how do we engage with other providers who are almost in a similar tech domain. Okay, exchange ideas and bring them on board, instead of fighting for the candidates. We wanted to partner with them, which is still we are evaluating it in terms of we just started some pilots. We are not still, I'll not say the success rate, still too early to tell you what it is. But I think this is again a practice that's happening in startup spaces, where we are okay to share knowledge and skills with each other, so that in this kind of scenario, we all are surviving. I'll not even talk about growth. It's now almost at the survival zone. Yeah.
Very interesting thoughts, Jitendra. And I think particularly when you mentioned about that, how there is a gap technically that exists between what is being taught to students in the curriculum and its exact usage in on-ground industry. Definitely that gap exists, and upskilling becomes even more important with that. It reminds me of an incident when I was in my college days, and recruiters came to hire me. They told me that always remember that college is only a place to learn how to learn further. So I think, yeah, pretty much in line with that. Great. Sarmishta, with that, we move to you. Your thoughts on how companies can actually do certain innovations to upskill their employees.
Yeah, Archit, I think my co-panelists, Mr. Das and Mr. Malik, had said it all. If I have to quickly, talk about just few points, I think they have already very well, made this point very clear, the question. See, something which comes to my mind is, skilling, upskilling is good, but we have to be very strategic. Upskilling is not a vanilla kind of training or skilling that is happening. We need to align with the business. We first need to have the understanding what business we are in. We may be working, in the same company, but sometimes we ourselves may think we know little, but we may not be practical, right? So taking the right, scenario as to with the business alignment, that's very important. At the same time, the training investment, sometimes these budgets are taken too highly. They think that we should not spend too much on training, or maybe, okay, fine, we are taking some technical trainings, it's very expensive, so let's run it. No, before that, I think we should understand the need analysis and customization as per the requirement. That is very, very critical. Okay, so the budget should be an investment. It's not that something we are kind of pumping out just to, you know, fill up our training calendar, or maybe a skilling and upskilling activity as HR that we handle. uh, After that, I would say, see, yesteryears we used to do a lot of training that used to have one particular set. Like, for example, let's say I'm doing a sales training, so I'm only doing sales training. But nowadays, I think this, you know, there is a shift in the mindset. You know, a lot of us know a lot of things because the internet is very handy, and you know, the Google Baba is always there with us. Anything we know, we have some kind of, it should be salad. You know, while we eat salad, what happens is we get the you know, we have so many fruits or so many vegetables that will give tidbits of all the nutrition. Similarly, we should package that training and make it, and the training should not be boring. You know, everybody wants fun and happiness, so you know, that happiness learning has to be there. And one more important thing that strikes my mind when I was hearing Mr. Das and Malik is, like, you know, whether the participants or the employees who I am skilling, are they open to learn? Are they in the state of learning? You know, are they coming to the HR and saying, hey, please train me on this? That means that learning skill has one, unless, you know, unless the glass is I mean uh, empty, we can't pour more water to it. Therefore, the mind has to be empty, mind has to be receptive. So everything, I think it's all about customization. Now, I would say, like, you know, I was just reading one journal where it was talking about the World Economic Forum estimates that more than half of the employees around the world would need to upskill or reskill by 2025 to embrace the you know, changing nature of jobs. And people are very receptive nowadays. You see, everybody, the kids who we hire from the fresh IITs or IIMs or whatever, the management or engineering colleges, everybody is only think about the package. They think about what they would learn. They think about their career planning. So make it in such a way, the training package. And also, we have to be also very sensitive about what we are training. So if we are training soft skills, then what in soft skills, why it is needed, you know, a deep investigation into it. We also need to there are a lot of things, like, you know, nowadays, since we are getting technically upgraded, so you know, on job training also, pick the mature person, the leader, the champion from the team, and ask him to train the person. If the training goes on with a feedback analysis, you know, we should not only give you know, thumbs up to the person who is getting skill, but also who is delivering that skill. So will engage, empower, and last but not the least point, I feel that it has to be a continuous learning. Learning cannot end. It's like earth, you know, it goes round and round the sun. Similarly, the learning has to go on and on. Then only that receptivity, openness, and we can reach to that platform. It's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, Mr. Great thoughts and some incredible analogies. With that, I think now let's shuffle the order. Sarmishta, I'll go with the next question, which is more of an extension of this question. I'm sure you would agree that this upskilling, reskilling, all these kind of HR strategies actually helps in attracting and retaining top talent as well. And that becomes very important because we have already discussed that how the workforce pipeline is already scarce. So your thoughts on that, Sarmishta, that how all these things really help in attracting and retaining top talent?
Yeah, Archit, I think nowadays, see, all of us, I'm sure my co-panelists are well aware. And Archit, if you are an HR, you are also well aware, and you have gone through that great resignation scenario, you know. So this is the time where we should focus on great retention, I guess. Right. So if our focus is on great retention, so therefore, not only retaining, we'll have to, I think, attract the best, you know, person on board. How do we do that? That's a big question. I mean, that's a big question for all of us. So the workforce have now been shifted worker. Now, yesteryears, it used to be the employers in the driver's seat. but now it is employees who is sitting in the driver's seat. Therefore, we all have to redefine the meaning of success. We need to prioritize on mental health, well-being, growth, and work-life balance. Along with that, the question still retains how we attract. I think attracting talent is more about how you maintain your culture of the organization. A great talent will only come to you if he's doing. You see anybody qualified employee, if you onboard, he will first search your internet. He will go through various websites and see the reputation of the company. Therefore, company, before even attracting and wanting to get the right talent, it should first see, whether the company is in a position or is in that platform where they have huge employee engagement. They have open systems, they have great place to work. They are able to manage the careers of the people. They are creating opportunities, great opportunities for the existing employee, because everything is word of mouth. So employees have to see that, yes, my friend or in my network, Mr. X, whose friend is working in X company, wow, he has got some new challenges to work. He seems to be very good. I mean, see, salary is just a health hygiene. Salary is just a hygiene. But if you want to attract and retain your employees, you will have to create that culture. You will have to create engagement activities. You will have to allow the leadership from them. So leadership doesn't mean I will have to have a huge team. It is how I manage myself at a very junior level. So that leadership, and make people responsible, make a autopilot team, give them that responsibility, allow the leader decision making to come from them. Then only you will be able to co-create a great culture, and then you will be able to attract and retain top talent. That's what I think.
Very true, Sarmishta. I think empowerment is the key. With upskilling, reskilling, it is important that we empower employees also in actually critical situations. With that, let's move on to Deepak. Your thoughts on this? How exactly upskilling, reskilling really helps in attracting and retaining top talent and top folks?
So basically, there are two aspects in this. One, you're attracting the new talent to join the company, which is very, very critical. In fact, I'm sure my co-panelists would have experienced that there is a biggest challenge in this world to attract and retain them. I mean, you release the offer, then you are in a black hole kind of. You don't know whether the person will join or not on that day. And the last day, you come to know that person is not joining. I mean, it's happening. It's happening across all the companies. How we can attract the talent, that's more important, because what I believe, employees are smart now, candidates are smart now. They are not only looking for the money. Money is one element for them to attract the company, but money can be given by multiple companies. What else can be done? Can we upscale them in their career? Can we bring a new technology skills to them or not? That's more important. As Semester said, the learning culture is more important than every company, and I personally believe that learning and inclusive culture plays a vital role in that kind of the attracting and retaining the talent. So if you are more focused on learning attributes, what kind of learning are going to give your employees, existing or upcoming employees, how you can generate the career path, that's more important. So if I say attract the talent, we need to showcase what you will get apart from the money in the company, how your role will grow in the down the line of 2 years, 3 years, what are the new challenges you will face that a role will be played by the HR, recruiter, and the manager. So HR alone cannot do everything. A manager has to come in the picture to give the vital roadmap of that path. So you need to generate the interest. Yes, this is the company where I can earn and I can learn. Earlier it was only earn. Now the learn matter has to be is added in that earning, right? So earning plus learning is more important. Now retaining, once the person joins the company, is more important than how we engage them. Engagement doesn't mean that you just play the games, you create some kind of recreation room, you go and play the things. I would like to refer to the 3C model. In fact, my co-panelists must be knowing on that about that framework, the 3C, care, competence, and career. So the competency work is more important right there. So competency is how you are developing the competencies in-house and out-house, how you're developing to the next role. That's more important for every employees. So once the person joins, the retention can be done once they see a roadmap, the roadmap with the learning, upscaling their skills, learning the new technology, or not the technology, the management attributes. Like I'm not only focusing the techie people, it could be non-techie people also. So what kind of horizontal, vertical learning you're having, that's more important. Second and third important thing, I mean, which I'm sure you must have experienced that as my co-panelist said, we cannot push the people to attend the training, certain trainings. They should know the purpose and the interest of that particular training, then only to get the fruitful result. Otherwise, it's just a kind of a classroom wherein you just go and take the marks and come back. That's it. But how you attract people to attend the training, that's more important. And that can be done once you create a kind of the engagement level in the culture and you foster the learning culture in the company. And the culture always travels from top to bottom. It's never traveled from bottom to top. So our top management should be focused on investing on the learning. So it's not that they're expending some amount on the people to send them for the training, development. They're investing to develop the skilled workforce in the company who can cater the business need after 2 years. The moment we have that kind of mindset, retention will be high. The whatever we are experiencing now, the resignation because of the bubbles in the environment, that can be reduced.
Great thoughts, Deepak. Completely agree with you and Sarmistan that the times of great resignation we are in. Though I'm not an HR, but as an employer and as a hiring manager, I think it has certainly been giving me nightmares, and I have been very pushy with my HR counterparts in the company. So I think completely agree with that. So with that, Jitendra, your thoughts on that? How does it really help in attracting and top talent?
So thank you, Deepak and Sarmishta. I think almost both of you have made all the points, and I was thinking of. But yeah, great points, and a lot of learning from those. If I have to add a couple of more bits to it, okay. First of all, when we look at retention, it's actually retention is all about how do you engage with employees at a different life stages, okay. And if you look at with the changing especially after the COVID and all, so there are a couple of things that got added to the entire bouquet of how do you or what is required for an engagement, and one of them it's important thing, which is every employee, they wants to be now more authentic, because it's after COVID we all realize that we cannot have two lives, we have one life, and let's bring best of ourselves at wherever we are, okay. And then also they want to get into an environment or culture, whatever we talk about, where they come in and then they can reach to their fullest potential. Again, this is where the skill, reskill, whatever we talk about, it's going to to be added in there. And one of the critical element, which is, again, this is not in order, but these are kind of researched ideas by some of the organizations like BetterUp they came up with. So where they worked with a lot of Fortune 500 companies to understand what is the requirement, and these are directly given by the employees, okay. And one of the most important things have come up is to learn new skills, and that's kind of an engagement activity or retention activity that tool we are talking about. And two more which I want to really add to this is, one, to have a sense of purpose, of meaning, and which I think Deepak and Sarmishta both talked about. Because one of the days where we just come to office to have a 9-to-5 job and take the salary, because even you talk about Gen X, Y, Z, doesn't matter. Everyone, they have changed their psychological impact. None of us wants to come to a job which we're not getting fulfilled, because money can be earned even by doing TikTok videos these days, correct? So so that's a deep sense of meaning and purpose. All these, if you look at if you have to combine all of, and I'm not even talking about your compensation and rewards, because compensation is you have to pay them, and everyone understand that it's no more like you can squeeze them and not pay, because market is like that, because we are running around very few skilled employees across the market, and they are always going to be in demand. So compensation is even out of context. You have to pay them the fair wages, whatever we talk about, maybe like always more than the median, which is 50%. But here when you talk about how do you create belongingness, how do you create new skills, or how do you bring people and make them reach to the fullest potential, it's everything about how you are going to train these individuals. Okay, creating a career path, and not gone are the days that a career path is going to be always a vertical career path, saying that, hey, you join, let's say, an HR executive, and you maybe may become an HR head one time. So those are gone days, because now we all are experimenting with people who doesn't have a coding skill. They actually become product managers these days. Okay, so how do we create that kind of environment in the organization? Say, like, hey, like, we are open. Okay, not only give you a career path, which is kind of a hierarchical career path, we are also open to relook at, do you have something else, some other potential, and I'm going to basically what do you say, like, customize your career the way you want. Okay, and this is how the organizations are running. If you look at in my organization, so we have seen a lot of people, they joined in sales, then came into customer success, then moved to product management. Okay, which is totally different tangent, because sales is very I'll not say very technical. Okay, from their customer success, slightly technical, and then doing product management. And that's the kind of career roadmaps that's being created. It's no more like, hey, you join as a particular function and you always grow that. And how do we do it? I think the best advantage of it these days, again, the digitalization. You have so many opportunities, where I think Deepak mentioned about it, correct? Like, it's not only about creating a lot of courses, but can we create a culture or an atmosphere of motivation where individuals will be going forward and getting the learning on themselves. Gone are the days where you have to only go and create training programs, trainers, and coming and going to give you lectures and you get trained. If we create that environment that employees understand that there will be always career, as long as I bring in skills to the organization, I think they can go to an YouTube or a Coursera and learn everything for free. I think all it boils down to, like, the accesses that as an organization that we are giving to our employees, that if you are skilled enough, if you have that right drive to get yourself skilled, we'll support you in the journey, and and then we'll also grow you. One more thing which I think Chid, when you started the word Great Resignation, I think the again change of mindset that happened across, okay, be it learning or be it retention, it's no more an HR's job. Okay, HR is going to facilitate the entire environment possibly, but the entire execution and hand holding and making it more meaningful is going to be all about how the hiring managers, because they're the first point of contact, how the line leaders are going to engage with every employees and create those motivation. Yeah, so that will be like my few thoughts from my end.
Great thoughts, Jitendra. I think a very important thought that retention is not something which is just an HR job. I think this is definitely that most leaders in whichever space they are operating, they need to understand, and I think with that they should be approaching their hiring strategy. Cool. So now we already have a good lineup of questions from the audience. I think I've just particularly kept one of the food for thought questions at the last, and then we'll start taking up questions from the audience. So this is a question which is more of a philosophical nature. Do you think that India have a job crisis, or is it more of a skill crisis? Deepak, your thoughts on that?
See, every coin has both sides. Which side you look at, that's more important. So to some extent, I agree we have a job crisis, but why we have a job crisis, that root cause needs to be understood, right? So as Jitendra said, like we have the schools, they are teaching us the same curriculum for the last 10 years, there's no development in that, but the demand is something different. So there is a gap in that. So first, we need to understand what kind of the learning we're getting in the schools and colleges, what kind of teaching methodology we are adopting from there. As he said, perfectly said, that it's a path to learn the new things, right? So I agree to that. At the same time, I believe if we can create a kind of the policies, government policies, wherein the schools are teaching the new technologies, new curriculum, they change the curriculum after 3 years, they review the curriculum and then they add certain more elements in the curriculum, that I believe the job crisis will be eliminated, not to larger side, but to some extent. Plus, we can create a skilled workforce who can be easily adopted, accepted by the industries. So whenever we go for the hiring, we look at two things. We are not looking at the guy. We always in Aries, we look at what they can do in 2 years in the company, because I know what they learn. Fine. But our requirements totally different from what they learn. Can I train them? Can I put an investment on them so that I can get an ROI after 1 year? That's the criteria. And that's almost every company follows the same criteria. If I'm going to hire a fresher in the schools or colleges, if I'm going to invest a certain amount on him, how long he can be engaged with me, with my organization, and when I can start getting the ROI from the candidate. Second, if you look at, there are multiple, government has announced multiple ways to upscale your skills, but the ground reality is those skills are not really reached to the right people, audience. Still, I feel there is a gap which can be fulfilled by the government policies, wherein they can force people, or not force, in fact, they can generate the interest at the district level or the village level to understand the skills, what they are going to do, what they're going to learn, and how they're going to adopt to build up the career. So it's very debatable things whether we have a job crisis in industry or we have a skills crisis in industry.
Indeed, Deepak, completely agree with you. With that, Jitendra, we move to you. Your quick thoughts on, in India, is it a job crisis or more of a skill crisis?
Okay, I think continuing with what Deepak said, it's a double-edged sword. Correct? I started the webinar today with the same, we are in a dilemma, where we are not finding the right skills, where so many vacancies are there. At the same time, there are unemployment. Okay, if you look at India, especially, if you're in our context, we're a large economy. Okay, and our consumption powers are so high, and every day, at least 10 new startups are getting created. So obviously the challenge is not going to be the jobs. I'm not even earlier the startups used to be based in only in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Mumbai, Delhi, etc. But if you look at, I have approximately 4 friends, they started startups in rural markets in MP, in Northeast, and they're creating jobs there, and meaningful jobs. But the problem that all of us are facing, when we sit down, especially or discussing, how do we manage this, it's always about the skill, because the challenge was the way the curriculum has been built. It's not even though a few changes happen in here and there, but the entire skill, be it automation, digitalization, RPA, you talk about it just accelerated by almost 50 years. Okay, and the academic curriculums are not taking care of that. That's only one part of it. If you look at it, I think Sarmishta was mentioning soft skills, which we possibly didn't discuss much in this discussion today. Here, some of the skills that we are facing challenges with, one of them is going to be, how do you do a change management, because every day we're changing, and the change is faster than what you see. Like, for example, I have a son who is not even 4 years old. Okay, he operates the entire YouTube on his own. He sings, he speaks better than me, actually. So with that, the kind of changes that you're saying, that the generations that are coming inside the loop, I think by another 2 years I'll be in 40s. So how we cope up with that change management still, a lot of us doesn't have it. Another part which we, I think McKinsey also talked about it very clearly, that resilience is going to be another skill that we need to talk about. So these skills, we leave aside the technical, that is not happening. These skills are also not taught in our curriculums, even to the finest schools that we go, they're also there, we're not being taught. So it's going to be situation where both soft skills and your technical skills you're missing on, and that's where it's always going to be about lack of skills and not lack of opportunities. Opportunities are immense these days, at least what I have seen during my father's days. So where they just joined one organization and left from there after retirement, and then after that, these days, even if you're retired, you still have jobs. So there's no retirement anymore. Yeah.
Great insight, Jitendra. With that, Sarmishta, we move to you quickly. Your 2 cents on, is it a job crisis or it is a skill crisis in India? And after that, we move to audience questions.
Sure. I'll just wrap it up very quickly, because I think my co-panelists have said it all again. Well, see, if I go with the data, I can see that India's demographic dividend is about 65% youth in today's time. Okay, and about 50% of the youth are unemployed. So I think partially I have already answered your question, which means there is a job crisis as well as there is a skill crisis. Why the youth are unemployed? Could be because in order to replenish the job crisis, new age curriculum is very important. The schools and colleges need to stress and focus on the new age digitization. So that's very critical. As Jitendra was saying, that technically they might have learned in their college books, but when it comes to practical experience, they do not have. They have nil. I have experienced myself. I have hired through triple IT some of my very new fresh from college years. They knew it all, but when it came to executing, they took some time. Therefore, the skill crisis is still there, all no matter what kind of institutes they come from. Execution level, there are gaps, of course. Yes, job crisis is there, and for mending this job crisis, we need to upskill our people. And I think other points have been well taken by my co-panelists. So with this, I think these are my thoughts. So it is equally job and skill crisis, and as veterans and seniors, we should take up our responsibility to find a way how to bridge this gap.
Thanks, Mishka. We have a bunch of great insights, some serious practical advice from practitioners. I think it was truly an amazing discussion, and I'm sure that our audience also did find this discussion very interesting. And I think the huge lineup of questions that I have here is a testimonial to that. I'm not sure if we'll be able to pick all of them. We'll certainly circulate these questions to our panelists, and they can offline send answers to these questions, and our audience will be we'll be sending these answers to them shortly. So with that, I think I'll just randomly put across these questions to each one of you. So the first question, I think Deepak, you should take this up. This is a question from Chandrasekhar Kuchi. We all aware that in construction industry, the skilled manpower is just 4 to 5% in India. How are we going to address this issue? Deepak, your thoughts on this?
So first, we need to understand what kind of skills force we're talking about the construction industry. Are we talking about the labor, the blue collar, the white collar? Right, because the bifurcation will depend on that only. Most of the things, if you look at the construction industry, the 70 to 80% workforce comes from the blue collar jobs. And that I should not say that the people who are unable to educate themselves, they come into that industry. It's difficult and it's a very challenging thing, in fact, to increase the workforce, because at the moment we say the construction workforce has been increased, that means we are actually inviting the unskilling things in India. So I really don't have a constructive answer of this, how we can scale up that particular labor part, because at the same time we are talking about the scaling the technical or the non-technical skills of the employee. At the same time, we're talking about the degrading that. So it's very difficult to get the answer of such kind of question.
Completely agree with you, Deepak. I think very relevant, because this is a quite a complex problem to solve, which first needs discovery, like you rightly said, and then I think we'll be able to understand that what exactly is the underlying problem, and perhaps then we can start talking about remediations. Great thoughts. Let's move to next question from Mr. Shikhar Kotwal. What is the view on reward-based retention or reward-based education programs? Sarmishta, do you want to take that up?
Yeah, sure. Reward-based retention and reward-based. What is the second one? Reward-based retention.
So I'll just repeat, it's reward-based retention and reward-based education programs.
I guess the reward-based retention and reward-based education program, as per the research, says it has direct linkage and direct relationship, which means it is a positive relationship. See, everything we do, even at our level, at a very senior level, even after completing 22 years of service, I would definitely look upon to my boss, whatever good I think, if he pats my back and says, hey Sharmishta, this is good that you have done, that still brings an enthusiasm to do more. So reward based retention I think should be practiced, and along with that, the HR practices needs to be upgraded. Look, for anything that we do, we need to have a strategic human resource management policies and practices in place. If we do a good culture survey, and if we do a good survey within the organization, we ourselves can come with certain results, and we can see, we do not have to go out. Even if I have a 50 per people company, and I take a dipstick survey, or maybe I take a survey, I would definitely find results, what works in my company and what works not. But if you talk about the reward based retention, it definitely works, and it has a positive implication. Secondly, reward based education. Now, reward based education, I don't know, what does it mean? Does it mean if I do some work, great, I will be given with a best upskilling training? Or maybe what does it mean? It is subjective, but obviously anything that has rewards at the back of it always gives up a positive result. So I think it should be promoted, and HR practices should dwell upon these areas to map organization success.
Great response. I'm certainly confident that this answers Mr. Shikhar Kotwal's question. Okay, so Jitendra, let's go ahead with you for the next question. So we have a next question from Mr. Venkat Krishnan. In 2022, we have seen a large section of students applying for foreign universities. Does it indicate insufficient quality education at graduate and PG levels? What is it that industry and government should do to prevent foreign exodus and retain talent within India?
Yeah, quite a difficult question. I'm not an expert, but I'll still tell you my gut feeling. Okay, if a lot of people are going out abroad, okay, it may indicates two things. Okay, one, the aspiration has gone up. Okay, what does it mean is, if you look back 10 years ago or 15 years ago, 10 years ago, I was doing my master's. Not everyone had that luxury to go and say, I want to go to the best universities, because that was only kept for very few privileged class. Okay, which means government also started sponsoring. Okay, and foreign universities also stepped up with the entire scholarships that possibly can be provided. Also, if you look at it, means the aspirations has gone up, which is a good thing, correct? A country like ours, we need more and more aspired individuals. Okay, and then go and make a mark, study abroad, hopefully they come back, or even if they don't come back, there becomes a tenadella. There's nothing wrong in that. Okay, still it bears the flag of ours, okay, which we all are proud of. And yeah, as a whole, I think it's more of an, I look at from the positive angle of it, that it's an aspiration of our middle class. Lower middle class has gone up, and the numbers have gone up, who wants to explore. And also look at another way, let's say if I talk about 15-20 years ago, okay, I can talk about my own aspiration at that point of time, just to get a job and do something. These days, almost all individuals, they when they are getting the first job, they talk about next foreign holidays. Okay, it's just that world has become global. The population of our country has become more aspirational. Okay, and that's an indication. There's nothing negative in it, because in India also, if you look at, there are some of the finest universities are there. Obviously, the seats are very less. Like be it IITs or IIMs, IISCs of this world. So these are all finest institutes. And they provide create a lot of great talent in this country. But at the same time, there's no harm if our people also aspires and go out and learns there. Even if they stays back there, I think that's not a big deal, because we are 130 billion. If a few here and there goes, I think we are okay, as long as they carry the positive name of our country. That's it. Yeah, again, I'm not an expert, so I will not be able to talk about the policy changes there.
No, obviously, I think, Jitendra, I think policy changes, at a national level is definitely, it demands a separate discussion altogether. I believe that there are different vectors that actually influence policies at a national level. So, but yeah, I think very, very relevant response. With that, I think we have already clocked 12. If time allows for all three of you, Deepak, Sarmishta, and Jitendra, we can spend just another quick 3-4 minutes, because we have a very loaded question from Sani S. And I think I would keep that question at the center of the table, and any one of you could pick that one. Please feel free to contribute your thoughts on that question. The question is, what all are the current learning initiatives practiced in your respective organizations to ensure that we foster continuous learning culture within the organization? Any best practices, recommended approaches which you have felt that has become a successful initiative, attracting a lot of associates to be a part of the learning, upskilling, reskilling process? I believe all of you have given examples on that already, but still just one more shot. Any one of you would want to take up that?
First question I would like to answer is upgrading your digitization skills. So since everything is getting digital, and digital is is in our lives in everywhere, whether whether it's AI or IoT or in any mode, cryptocurrency or anything. So upskilling nowadays, the main requirement where I find is, apart from your soft skills, it is the digital skills upgraded. If I'm a HR, I should know HR analytics. I'll tell you a realistic example. My daughter is in Nasi Monji, second year. She's doing MBA in digital transformation. Now she knows HR more than me in terms of digitization. She asks me some question which after 22 years of service, I am not able to answer her, because I don't know that digitization, So big data is playing critically, and, in our lives. So this is the main requirement. Everybody is expected to know hands-on on few things in our respective function. So this is very critical, digital upgradation. And secondly is leadership. Leadership, if the leader, the driver of the organization doesn't understand and doesn't feel the importance of upskilling his people, everything is going to be obsolete one day. Like, for example, let me give one quick example of Kodak. The Kodak company that got, it was one time, it was such a hype, and with Kodak means we were we had that status, we are clicking through Kodak. But it got obsolete. Why? Because it could not shift its culture from print photography to digitization. So digitization, and this happened how many 20 years back. So this is critically important, I believe, for all of us to upgrade ourselves, become what may, be what be, whatever function we are in, we need to upgrade ourselves in terms of digital technology. This is my answer to the first question.
Great response, Mr. I think you have shared some really important emphasis on digitization, and digital transformation. Just last 2 cents from Jitendra and Deepak from you, would love to contribute on this. I'll just repeat the second part of the question for reference. Any best practices, recommended approaches which you have felt that has become a successful initiative, attracting a lot of associates to be part of the learning, upskilling, reskilling process?
Deepak, if I may go first, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, please.
Thank you. So, so I think one thing which I'm actually proud of my organization. So one, I will not say that's an initiative, but that's a DNA. We tell our employees, go and fail, we're okay with it, as long as you move fast. Okay, and that's learning capability that we have created in this organization, and that not only has helped the organization, but especially during the pandemic, when we were into employee mobility business, which is a SaaS platform, but employee mobility was stopped for 2 years, correct? And as everyone in the organization, they knew that they can fail and then still pivot the entire organization again. During that time, within 4 months, we came up with a new product. Okay, and our old product was at least in 6 countries. Right now, our new product is in 19 countries. Okay, so the only one mantra, the co-founders, the leaders, that's this organization, we always tell, okay, go fail, it's okay. We but experiment, just experiment, and don't think that if we fail, what will happen? We'll see about it. And this is we push in the organization as a learning that every one of us should be okay to do one thing, to fail, but still to try. And take accountability even things are wrong, okay, and we will not hold that against anyone. And the second one, we started recently doing, creating a lot of hackathons, we're bringing in multiple teams together, and that also provides us a platform for, finding the next level talent. Okay, what does it mean is, like, when we do hackathon, it's not only for tech hackathons. Okay, we combine tech, product, sales, customer success, and multiple other teams, marketing. They come together and then they build teams and to present the new products that we have. This has been successful. Okay, obviously they get a lot of rewards also, which I think Sharmista was talking about. These two things I think has been highly successful in our organization. But the first and foremost, we allow them to fail.
Great thoughts, Jitendra. I think creating an internal demand pull for upskilling, very relevant strategy. Deepak, your thoughts on that?
So it is what we encourage people to have the cross-functional learning. So what we believe, depends. I've seen in past people who has done the B.Tech are doing the HR job and the marketing and sales job as well. Doesn't mean that they are not good in the coding, but their interest towards these particular field are more. So we always encourage people to have the cross-functional learning so that they can have the horizontal thought process. Now, if you are working in a single direction, I'll be thinking in that way only. But if I have the multiple knowledge of my business, my thought will be in a different way, and I can enable the business. I can have them enabling the business in future also. Second thing, what we encourage them to understand what is the skills gap they have by themselves, because self-learning and self-apprehension is best teacher for themselves. If I know what is there in the market, what I have in today, I can discuss with the manager. I can create my own action plan, create a development plan, and create an action plan which can be circulated to the HR team. Then they can facilitate that. So two aspects which we follow usually in the company, that one, you should have the cross-functional learning, not limit yourself to one domain only, understand from a different domain as well. Plus you understand what is there in the market, how you can upscale yourself, and then come up with a plan. So why we do this? Because that gives the sense of the accountability and ownership of the plan. Right. The moment I have the ownership, my interest towards that plan will be more, rather someone is asking me to do that.
So the importance of cross-functional enablement and self-introspective analysis. Great piece of advice, Deepak. So while the discussion really goes on, and I think this was really one of the most amazing discussions that I have moderated, and it really feels bad, honestly, to kill this discussion at this time. But I think with due regards to your schedules and the clock, we will have to wrap this. Firstly, Deepak, Sharmista, Jitendra, I would really like to thank you on behalf of TeamLease Services. I think this was really an amazing discussion. Some huge practical advice from on-ground situations. I'm sure our audience would also have loved it. Message for audience, very sorry if we haven't been able to take all of your questions, but please feel free to write to us if you have more questions, and we will pass on your questions to our expert panelists and we'll get you answers from them. Okay, so with that, we will sign off from this discussion. Once again, thank you all for being part of this amazing panel. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Signing off.